Hey folks, Randy Newberg here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Won't be long, it'll be Christmas. But a date between now and Christmas that you better pay attention to is December 15th. Because December 15th is when Alaska has its controlled hunt deadline. And I'm looking at it right here. It says December 15th, 5 p.m. Alaska Standard Time. So you might be saying, well, what are these controlled hunts? Well, we're going to put a link in here where you can download what they call their draw supplement. It walks through it pretty well. Go Hunt has a strategy article that's out there that's really, really good. It walks through everything, and now Go Hunt has all the draw odds and everything for Alaska. And it has them for multiple years, and that's a ticket. Don't just look at last year's. Look at multiple years to see what the trends are doing. And you can do that with Go Hunt. If you go out there and sign up for Go Hunt, use promo code Randy, you're gonna get you $50 of credit in their gear shop. So, I want you to think about Alaska from two standpoints. The controlled hunts we're talking about on the deadline of December 15th, and then their general hunts. Because Alaska is one of the remaining states where most of the hunting for residents and non-residents happens on general tags. But some of the really cool stuff, and places where they're trying to keep non-resident pressure limited, are on controlled hunts, and that's the deadline we're going to talk about here. And before we get into the details, there's all these, we hear them, stories, myths, rumors, whatever, about what you need for a guide to hunt in Alaska. There are 3 species for which you need a guide or an outfitter: Dall sheep, mountain goat, and the big bears. By the big bears, I mean brown bear or grizzly bear. For black bears, you do not need a guide. For moose, for elk, for Sitka blacktail, for caribou. Most of the stuff you don't need a guide. For those 3 species, you do. Now there's a little workaround, if you want to call that. Alaska says if you hunt with someone of second degree kindred, and it defines that in their regulations. I have a bunch of uncles and cousins who live in Alaska, and unfortunately, uncles and cousins are not second degree kindred. So I'm out of the loop, but go read that. It's mostly siblings, parents, grandparents, children, stuff like that. Then you would not need a guide for those 3 species. So in addition to the 3 species of the big bears, Dall sheep, and goat that you need a guide, I'm just going to list off. Here are the other species that you can apply for: black bear, moose, bison, caribou, muskox, and elk. Then we get into the cost of Alaska. It is, for most people think of Alaska as this ridiculously expensive place to hunt. And yeah, the logistics for both residents and non-residents are complicated in Alaska, and that adds more costs. But when it comes to tag fees and licenses, Alaska takes it pretty easy on us. To apply in these controlled draws, you have to purchase a 2024 non-resident hunting license, which is $160. And then you're going to pay an application fee. It's $5 for most species, but it's $10 per application for bison and muskox. All the other ones, it's $5. Every limited entry hunt or controlled hunt in Alaska, non-residents are allowed up to 10%. Doesn't mean they're guaranteed 10%. Up to 10% of the tags. Cost: Dall sheep's going to cost you $850. The big bears are $1,000. Moose $800. Mountain goat $600. Bison $900. Muskox $2,200. Elk $600. Caribou $650. And black bear is $450. There's always the question of, can I return a tag in Alaska? Well, here's kind of how it works in Alaska. It's a little different. So we go through this draw and you get notified, hey, you're successful. So you got to go buy your locking tag, which is kind of where you pay the big fee. So if you don't pick up your tag, that's how you, in effect, return it. They don't reissue it to somebody else. It's just the way it is. Now, if you've already bought everything, you've paid for it all, there's some pretty strict requirements to get your money back in Alaska. But that's really how you, quote unquote, return a tag in Alaska. Party applications: Alaska allows a party of up to 2 people Applicants, as far as age, you got to be 10 years old by the date of hunting season, and hunter education is required for anyone born after January 1, 1986. We're going to put links to all of these pages and schedules down here below. You know, if there's one part about Alaska and all of this general tag hunting is we got the results from the controlled hunts that come out in late February. Well, a lot of people are hunting Alaska every year because they aren't hunting the controlled hunts. They're going on general tags. So don't be surprised if some of the transporters and some of the other logistics people that you're going to use are already booked. Because there are people today in December of 2023 who already have booked their transporters, everything else for their hunt in the fall of 2024 or 2025. So it's a cool part about Alaska. But don't be surprised if you do luck out and draw one of these controlled permits, if you struggle to find someone who's not already booked. Just part of how it can be. Here's the thing we all love about Alaska. There is no point system. Whoo, thank you, Alaska. Please keep it that way. We don't need a point system in Alaska. Everything's working just fine. If you agree with me, raise your hand. So that makes explaining the Alaska system pretty easy. Alaska will give you 6 choices. So you could get assigned 6 random numbers. And you can make all 6 choices the same hunt code. So in effect, you're applying for the same hunt 6 different times. Yeah, you got to pay $5 times 6 or $10 times 6. So it's going to cost you a little more money in application fees, but it increases your chances significantly. I'm surprised how many people say, what do you mean I can apply 6 times? Yes, you can. So when you go through the screen, it'll say first choice, yes. How many applications? 1 through 6? And do the same hunt code for all 6 applications. Now, if you drew a certain hunt code last year, they make you apply in a different hunt code the following year. In other words, you can't have back-to-back years of hunting the same hunt code. Just know that that's a little quirk in the Alaska system. If you're getting an error that says that you're not allowed to apply for that, it's probably because you had the tag last year. Public land, over 90% of Alaska is public land. Your hunting license also allows you to hunt the state trust lands, which are the blue stuff. So finding a place to hunt in Alaska is not an issue. There are some tribal lands that you can't hunt on. And the subsistence regulations, this has been happening in the last couple of years. The federal government has this control over the subsistence hunting. So some of us as non-residents and even some of the non-rural Alaska residents, there's certain places we can't hunt because of the preference that's being given to subsistence hunters. So if you got a big plan in place, go and check to make sure that those rules in the last couple of years haven't changed. Alaska has had a bunch of hard winters for their sheep. Sheep hunting in Alaska is mostly, well, it's with outfitters or second removed kindred. You're probably going to have way fewer opportunities to do that as a non-resident just because the number of sheep have been hammered by, I think 3 out of the last 4 winters have really taken a toll on sheep numbers. It's going to restrict the amount of tags, which we get 10% of them, so it's going to restrict the non-resident portion. Just know that if you're thinking about sheep. Short-term options in Alaska, say you invest in this $160 non-resident license and you're like, well, I'd still like to go do something. Well, moose, there's a ton of general tags. Blacktail, every tag for Sitka blacktail is a general tag. There's a lot of caribou that are on general tags. So you can do most of those every year if you want. If you're really energetic and you're really good at logistics, Alaska is a great state for you because there's so much of this hunting that happens on general tags. So there's a ton of places where you can go in the short term. Long-term options, well, since there's no point system and stuff like that, every year is a roll of the dice. I'll probably never draw bison in Alaska. I'll probably never draw one of the moose tags that I might think about or one of the caribou tags I'm dreaming about. But every year I got, pretty much the same chance as everybody else because there's no point system. But that eliminates this idea of, oh, I have a long-term plan. I'm gonna build some points. I'm happy Alaska doesn't have that, even if it doesn't allow me to build this long-term plan. I get a lot of people who say, is Alaska really worth it? Is it that cool? Well, I think if you ask Marcus and Kara and me and Jace and Michael, everybody would be like, yes, it's that cool. It is that cool. So spend your $160 license, get your logistics in order, get applied before December 15th, and you'll find out in late February. I mean, I think about how lucky I've been. My first trip to Alaska was 1977. Yeah, I'm aging myself, I know. But over the course of doing a few trips, every time you do a trip, you learn a little bit more about the logistics, not just how to solve them, but how to solve them with less cost. And if you go and do this, if you start learning Alaska and its system, the amount of opportunity available in what we call the last frontier, it really is the last hunting frontier. There's no place with more adventure, more intrigue, more just the amazing landscapes and the cool species that are there. I hope you'll go and do it. And Alaska can be one of your fallback options, right? You're applying in all these western states, you don't draw. Because of all this general tag hunting, think of Alaska as one of your fallback states also. So anyhow, December 15th, don't miss the deadline. And if you want way more detail, strategy articles, maps, draw odds, you name it, go out to Go Hunt, sign up, use promo code Randy. They'll put $50 of mad money in your gear shop account. And good luck. I hope you're hunting Alaska this year.